the Pentagon be in charge of deciding what reporters can report on?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Are you okay with them limiting that?
Nothing stops reporters.
Nothing stops reporters, Donald Trump says, after having repeatedly stopped reporters from doing their jobs, getting entire news agencies banned from the White House press corps and from Air Force One. But whatever, you're setting aside, I like that he's at least pretending to care about reporters having access to information so they can do the reporting they're expected to. And what's especially interesting about that comment is it is kind of like a direct reproach against Pete Hegseth, who as of Friday, the Washington Post was reporting, had set up this new policy inside of the Pentagon where journalists would be forced to sign this new policy so that they agree not to gather information which has been not approved for public release. So that means basically not only are you gonna get in trouble if you try to release something that's classified, even if it's non-classified, if we haven't specifically said you can report on something, you can't report on anything. Anything having to do with the Pentagon, anything having to do with the multiple foreign policy entanglements we're involved in, anything having to do with the relationship between the United States perhaps and the Israeli government when it comes to Gaza, nothing about anything. And this is unprecedented. I've literally never heard of any government agency requiring something like this. And that's not just me saying it. Evidently, Donald Trump also thinks that it's BS. And Trump isn't the only other Republican speaking out against this. This is Republican Representative Don Bacon who said, this is so dumb that I have a hard time believing it's true. We don't want a bunch of Pravda newspapers only touting the government's official position. A free press makes our country better. This sounds more like amateur hour. And I agree. And here is the amateur. It's Pete Hegseth who says, the press does not run the Pentagon, the people do. The press is no longer allowed to roam the halls of a secure facility, wear a badge and follow the rules or go home. And that's supposed to seem tough to like regular people, but hold on. The press, why is that in quotation? They're the press, it's the media, that's what you're talking about. That's what it means. I mean, you may not like it, but you're doing like a weird Donald Trump thing. And then they don't run the Pentagon, the people do. What does this have to do with the people? Like, are you trying to posture as if you have a closer attachment to regular Americans than some journalists at the Washington Post or whatever? You're a former TV show host, you're a millionaire. You're now the Secretary of War or whatever you'd have us believe. How does limiting press access, limiting transparency, by the way, for reporters everywhere, it's not just like, NPR reporters can't go, they're Fox reporters now have to abide by this. How exactly is this doing the bidding of regular people? Again, as we've had to say so many times over the course of today's show, get the hell out of here with that nonsense. It's absolute BS, JR. What do you think?
It's weird. I'm slightly confused on this narrative that Donald Trump disagrees with it. I mean, he must have misunderstood the question for him to say, I mean, I'm against that report, you can't stop reporters. It's the same guy who was threatening NPR we talked about earlier. It's the same guy who was threatening any reporter that then asks him a question. He got the Australian reporter, did you do this last week, John? This Australian reporter standing next to Jonathan Karl outside in one of those press gaggles outside, and when you hear the helicopter whirring in the background, he asked him about him enriching himself off of the presidency and how he's made all this money, and he reverted. Trump went back and said, where are you from? And he told him Australia. He goes, you're not setting a very good tone. Your leaders are coming here in a couple weeks or something, and I'm gonna tell them about what you asked me. This is the same guy, like he's worse. Yep. The Pete Hegseth declaration is actually less. It's not as severe as what Donald Trump is talking about. He doesn't want people from certain news organizations that he hasn't even heard their questions yet speaking to him. And not for very long, you're not gonna be here. Yeah. There's no way,
and implying
Pete Hegseth's trying to suck up to him by doing this.
Exactly, he was implying with the Australian thing that he's gonna talk to the prime minister about it, like maybe try to get Australia to also crack down on its own media if they dare to ask us tough questions. Now, these are all like, it doesn't matter if they're Secretary of War or the president, they're tiny little baby boys who grew up wanting to be tough. They couldn't make it happen. So now they're just posturing on social media, yelling at reporters or whatever. Yelling at a reporter because they ask you a question you don't like is not tough. Being able to handle and respond to a tough question, that's what's tough. And he doesn't have it. He so doesn't have it that he doesn't even try at this point. And so is this the policy? I mean, Trump is saying no, the Pentagon is saying yes. Honestly, it kind of seems like a perfect situation for Donald Trump. where he gets to pretend that he's pro free speech, saying something that he's not going to change the policy on. I cannot imagine that most media is going to actually sign this thing. They would not be able to do their job if they do. But as of right now, there's every reason to believe that this is actually how things work at the Pentagon. So another strike against freedom of speech here in America.